Yes! Yes! Come on! Yes, sir! Jonathan David! Let's fucking go! Let's go! Ah! Yes! Yes! Come on! Let's go! Let's go! World Cup Day 8 is officially over, and yo, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Canada, the biggest win so far in the 2026 World Cup for our first win in history. Guys, if you saw the intro clip, I was going absolutely mad. Now, sadly, guys, one of our best players did break his leg, which is absolutely horrible. A bad tackle, but at the end of the day, Canada get their first World Cup win. But guys, in day 8, we had some very interesting games. First, we saw that draw between Czech Republic and also South Africa. Then we saw Switzerland absolutely demolish Bosnia, which I was doing a little bit of a hate watch for. Then we saw Canada smoke Qatar, and finally, most recently, we saw Mexico get that 1-0 win against South Korea. I'm gonna start off with talking about the earliest game, which was Czech Republic against South Africa, and in my opinion, I predicted Czech Republic to win this game just slightly, but I did predict them to win this game. But I feel like Czech Republic, first of all, this was the second game in a row where they had the lead and they ended up suffering and not getting the win. And second of all, I feel like I've been overrating Czech Republic. Maybe it's just because I've seen them a lot in European competitions and I think they're a decent team. South Africa, I know they're not a bad team, and I know in that first match day against Mexico, they were just extremely poor and they were much worse than they are normally. But in this game, guys, if anything, I actually think South Africa were the better team, guys. We look at the stats, South Africa were definitely the dominant teams in terms of possession and also in terms of shots too. I feel like Czech Republic is a type of team where off set pieces, they're very dangerous. Off corners, they're very dangerous. But in terms of the creativity on the team, I just don't think they're the most creative team. You know, Patrick Schick barely did anything in this game. Their midfield was good, but I think in the striker position, the two main players that's supposed to put the ball in the back of the net, I feel like they just weren't good enough in this game. When if you look at South Africa, like I said, they had a horrible performance against Mexico. But in this game, I actually thought they were pretty good. Obviously, they scored the one goal from a penalty by Mokoena in the 83rd minute, and I feel like that was 100% deserved because throughout the game and throughout both halves, whether it was the first half or the second half, I thought they were the better team. I thought they were the dominant team in terms of possession. I thought they were the team that was always creating more in the attack. They were the ones that was really playing with the ball in the final third of Czech Republic, and I thought they were the better team. I thought, if anything, they deserved to win this game over Czech Republic. Now, in terms of players, I will say, I think South Africa's back line was very good, and Mokoena, guys, I always shout this guy out. In all my recent videos, I always say, Mokoena is one of South Africa's best and most important players, and he was very good in this game. But once again, the attack, it just left something to be desired. Now, I'm happy that Apola started in this game, because I don't know why he didn't start in the first game against Mexico. I feel like he's probably one of the most dangerous attackers, and he wasn't bad. But other than that, Rangers, Maseko, I didn't think were very good. Obviously, Foster didn't end up playing in this game, which is very interesting because he is pretty much a main attacker for South Africa. Even a player like Moremi, the fact that he didn't play either, I thought was very interesting. And I feel like Hugo Bruce, I don't know, I feel like sometimes the lineups he plays, the players that are playing in certain positions, I don't know, I'm not really the biggest fan of it. Now, like I said, Mokoena I thought was very good, Apolos was very good, and Bokazi, guys, I always rave about Mbokazi. I think he's a great player. Maybe didn't have a kind of classic Mbokazi performance, but was still a decent player. Modiba was good. This guy Mudau, I thought he's been one of their best players over the last 2 games. Even though South Africa still have only gotten 1 point from 2 games, I think Mudau has probably been one of the better players on the pitch. But at the end of the day, guys, 1-1, you know, Czechia scored from that very early goal. Obviously, as you can see, it was in the first half, and it was just, you know, a pretty much classic Czech Republic goal. You know, throw in set piece and a goal from that. That's what Czech Republic do. Whether it's off a corner, off of a free kick, off a long throw in, that is how they're going to score. And sadly for South Africa, guys, we know that they have trouble defending set pieces, defending corners, and even defending long throws as well, as we saw in this game. So that is definitely probably the biggest weakness of South Africa, and that's why they suffered in this game. But at the end of the day, I am happy that South Africa at least got the draw because I think they deserve it. But on the table, guys, it's not really looking good for either of these teams. They both only have 1 point. Obviously, South Africa still need to play South Korea, which will be a very, very tough game for them. Czechia need to play Mexico, which will also be very tough. So for both of these teams, this was not really the result that they wanted. But a team that definitely got the result they wanted was Switzerland, and they beat Bosnia and Herzegovina 4-1. Now, guys, we were live for this game. It was kind of like a Bosnia hate watch. No, I don't have anything against Bosnians. Okay, I actually love Bosnians. But just because of the fact that they knocked out Italy, they got the draw against Canada, it was a hate watch. I did a hate watch, basically. And the hate watch went to plan. I predicted Switzerland to get the win, but did I think they were going to win 4-1? Absolutely not. I was thinking maybe 2-1. And I will say, for the first half, guys, Switzerland looked just as lacking in the attack, just as void of ideas as they did in the first match against Qatar, where they had way more possession, right? 70% possession. But nothing in the attack, nothing at all. They had 4 shots, 1 on target, which was a long shot from Ndoye that had no chance of going in. That was the whole first half. Absolutely dead first half. The second half, this is when Switzerland really turned it on. They had much more shots. They had better quality shots. But the one thing, actually the 2 things that I said at the start of the game, I don't know why it took Murat Yakin until the second half to do this, guys. I've been saying this for the longest time. First of all, Manzambi needs to start for Switzerland. And second of all, in looking at this lineup, when I saw Ryder there instead of Vargas, I'm like, but why is Vargas not playing? When I saw Abisher instead of Manzambi, I'm like, why is Manzambi not playing? But Johan Manzambi, however you pronounce it, with Freiburg this season was absolutely fantastic. He plays as a more defensive midfielder, but he's tall, he's fast. He has the ability to drive forward with the ball, to dribble with the ball, to get into good positions, and to score goals. And guys, look what happened when Murat Yakin put Manzambi and Vargas off the bench. Manzambi with 2 goals and Vargas with a goal and an assist. All within the last 20 minutes, Switzerland scored 4 goals. And it's because of Manzambi and Vargas. For me, Manzambi, even though he only played 20 minutes, was the man of the match. Absolutely incredible. If Xhaka would have let him take the penalty, he could have got a hat trick. And I was saying it since the start of the match. I don't know why Murat Yakin doesn't trust some of his young players like Manzambi, like Vargas sometimes, but he needs to put trust in them, especially Manzambi. I don't know how a player like Abisher or even Freuler is starting over Manzambi. I have no idea. But as soon as he put them on, Switzerland instantly got better. They were instantly more aggressive, instantly more creative, and Bosnia couldn't deal with it. Now, obviously, they got the red card in the 80th minute by Muharremovic. That was definitely a big mistake and definitely hurt them in this game. But at the end of the day, I don't think Bosnia would have won this. Even if they had 11 men, I think they still would have lost. Obviously, that goal from Mamic, by the way, in the last few minutes was a very, very good goal. A volley, beautiful, beautiful volley. The power on that shot was incredible. But guys, for pretty much the whole game, I didn't really think Bosnia looked that inspiring. I still think they can beat Qatar in the next match day, but they just didn't really look that good. Switzerland, on the other hand, they had a very good second half, and it'll be very interesting to see what they can do against my boys Canada in the last match day. But guys, moving on to Canada. Oh my days, guys. I was going crazy on stream. This was Canada's first ever World Cup win in history, and what a way to do it. 6-0 against Qatar. Qatar had 2 red cards. Honestly, this game was wild. This game was absolutely incredible. Now, guys, before we move on, Kone, bro. Ismail Kone. I feel so bad for this guy. Obviously, the Qatari player, Modibo, he went in for a challenge. It wasn't a malicious challenge or anything. I don't know how it happened, but somehow he ended up snapping his leg. I think it was his shin, which is really, really bad for Canada because I think he's probably a top 3, top 4 player in the team. Very good player, playing in the Serie A. Very underrated player as well. He was probably the main important player for Canada in the midfield. So I do think this will be a big loss. But to be fair, Saliba, I do think, is a very, very good replacement. And hopefully he can fill the shoes at least somewhat compared to what Kone was. But guys, looking at Canada in this game, guys, this was domination. This was the most dominant performance so far in the World Cup. You can talk about Germany 7-1 against Curaçao. This was more domination than that, guys. Look at the stats. Canada had about 80% possession. 32 total shots, 10 on target, almost 5 expected goals. Bro, look at this shot chart. Look at this shot chart compared to Qatar. they had pretty much one only real chance, which like it wasn't even a chance. It was a complete miss. Guys, this was the biggest domination I've ever seen in my life. Kyle Larin opened the scoreline. It was a shot from David. It was blocked. He put it in the back of the net. Then we saw Jonathan David get a goal. Then he got another goal right before the half. An incredible volley, one of the goals. The other goal was just a simple finish. And then, guys, in the second half, even after Kone got injured, at this point, Qatar are down to 2 red cards. They got that red card in the first half where it was a foul from behind just outside the box by Elamin. I thought it was a penalty in yellow, but it turns out it was just outside the box. So it was a free kick and obviously a red card. And then in the 51st minute, that's when Madibo put in the tackle on Kone, broke his leg, and he gets sent off for a dangerous play. At this point, it's 11 versus 9. You knew Canada was going to score a few more goals. They got another goal with Saliba, which was a brilliant free kick, by the way. He came on about 5 minutes before, scored an incredible free kick off the post and in, and him off the bench was an instant impact. I've always liked him when I've seen Canada play in recent friendlies, and I think now with the injury to Kone, I think Saliba, this is a very good chance for him to shine. But even after that goal from Saliba, we saw the own goal by Qatar, and then Jonathan David in the last minute of play gets the second hat-trick of the World Cup just after Messi. Honestly, guys, this is a fantastic game. As a Canada fan and wearing this jersey, bro, I knew when I bought this jersey, when Canada wore this jersey, bro, the black ice, I knew they were going to perform in this jersey, bro. And they were cold. They were absolutely cold, guys. And now the goal difference for Canada is absolutely incredible. If you look at the table, Canada have a +6 goal difference because obviously the first game they drew against Bosnia. This is very, very important for them. Now, if they do end up losing in the last match day against Switzerland, realistically, they will most likely 100% advance in second place because of their goal difference. Unless they concede like 5 goals to Switzerland and Bosnia end up beating Qatar by like another 3 or 4 goals. That's the only way that Canada won't finish in second place. But realistically, the chances of that are probably less than 1%. So the chances of Canada finishing first if they get a draw against Switzerland, or second if they lose to Switzerland, it's pretty much guaranteed that they will make it to the knockout stages, which is absolutely incredible for Canada. The first time they would ever play in the knockout stages and their first World Cup win in history. And guys, moving on to the last game, we had the host nation Mexico against South Korea. Now, me personally, I thought this game would end in a draw. And if you look at the game, I think a draw was probably the most fair result, but somehow, bro, Javier Aguirre just keeps getting his team the wins, even though they don't perform good. I don't think Mexico were good in the first match day. And in the second match day today, I don't think they were good either. They didn't have much possession. They didn't even have much shots. Guys, honestly, I thought this was a pretty boring game. The first half was stale, boring, like a lot of first half we've seen during the World Cup. For some reason, the first half always seemed very cagey and not a lot happens. But then in the second half, when the teams really try and push for the result, they really try and push for the 3 points, that's when you see the game really open up and you see more chances created and you see possibly more goals. And that once again happened in this game. The first half was very stale, not much happening. The second half really opened up. Now, guys, obviously, Romo got the goal for Mexico. He didn't even play in the first match. And this goal was pretty much the fault of the South Korean goalkeeper, Kim. I don't know what he was doing, guys. Obviously, it was a cross into the box and it was a collision on the head. The ball went straight up in the air, straight up. It was in the air for about 6 or 7 seconds. So it went very high. Kim ran all the way out of his net, almost to the edge of the penalty box to try and claim the ball. He went to catch it. There was a few players right there. He didn't jump high enough. He didn't look like he was really that balanced. In that situation, as a keeper, you just need to get the ball away because there's a lot of bodies in front of you and you don't have a clear path to the ball. Guys, this keeper is not the tallest keeper. I'm not even sure how tall he is, but let's see how tall he is. He's 6'2". Okay, he's a decent height, but you knew, like, when you saw him running to that ball and you saw Kim Min-jae there, you saw a couple other defenders there, you saw a couple of Mexico's attackers there, you saw Romo there, you knew that this was not going to be an easy catch for Kim. He should have known that himself. If I was him, I think a lot of other keepers in his situation should have just punched the ball away. Just get it out. Simple as that. He tries to catch it. He falls on another one of the defenders. The ball lands with Romo, and he just pretty much taps it into the back of the net. 1-0 at that point for Mexico. And at that point, you still thought that South Korea might be able to come back. You still thought that South Korea were going to get a goal. And I feel like South Korea in the first match day, the way they were moving the ball, how fast they were playing, I thought they were very good against Czech Republic. But in this game against Mexico, I feel like Mexico almost nullified South Korea. I feel like they almost prevented them from doing these type of attacks with a more defensive structure. And I just didn't think South Korea were that impressive. I still think they probably did deserve a goal. You know, they had a couple really good chances, especially guys at the very end of the game. This double chance, I don't know how they didn't score. A very good save by Rangel. You know, he had a good match rating and he pretty much kept Mexico in this game because I don't know how he made that double save. Very, very good. But South Korea probably should have scored. But at the end of the day, I think Mexico, with their defensive performance that was displayed and, you know, pretty much tactic sized, if that's a word, by their manager Javier Aguirre, and having the home advantage, all the fans backing them. Now, to be fair, there was a lot of South Koreans, but guys, I think Mexico now, obviously, with this result, will get out of the group stages. Now they're on 6 points, while Korea are on 3 and Czechia and South Africa are on 1. So they will 100% make it out of the group stages. But guys, if Mexico play like this in the round of 32, I think they're done. I don't see Mexico going anywhere in the knockout stages playing like this. I think they got very lucky in this game against South Korea with the heroics from Rangel for that double save, and with South Korea struggling a little bit in the attack. I think in the first game against South Africa were very, very poor. They got the 2 red cards, but to be honest, Mexico weren't even that good either. So I do think Mexico needs to perform in the third match day against Czech Republic. They need to change up some things. They need to do better. And if they perform very good in that last game, maybe they can do something in the knockout stages. But if they perform like this in the round of 32, Mexico will be going home on their own home soil. But guys, that's the end of the 8th day of football in the 2026 World Cup. Obviously, we had some crazy games for me. You already know what I'm most psyched about. Insane Canada performance today. But guys, tomorrow we got some more crazy games. Obviously, stay tuned for tomorrow's recap. And guys, if you've been enjoying all these daily recaps, remember to leave a like, comment, and obviously subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.